Thank you. So maybe let's take a look at our harvest up until now. We've had two people on our harvest. We've had Carlotta doing a harvest that we saw those images at the beginning with Rowan. And we've had Zulma doing kind of the overarching, you can see that behind her on the screen. And we're going to invite her to take us a little bit deeper into that. So over to you, Rowan and Zulma.
Yeah, well, I would just love to invite you, Zulma, as you've been on this journey where you have accompanied us in the background doing recording over 5 weeks instead of over a couple of hours as you normally do. So really the radical slow movement of graphic recording here, uh, having worked from this initial draft of some structure, um, the the simple invitation to surrender into the mystery, and then gr growing this into what you have today in front of you, which is much more full of our reflections and thoughts, experiences, captured in a visual way with some of the metaphors that Dougald has also helped us bring. Do you want to bring us into to that world, to that piece of art that you have there behind you?
I can try. Thank you, Rowan. And yeah, as you were saying, this has been different from what I normally do. Both working in tandem with Carlota, what a joy. I've been looking forward to working with her in person, and it has never happened. So this gave us that opportunity, and more things might happen in the future. I'm going to. So yeah, it's been very different to have that overarching view and to think how to create a cohesive image or cohesive map. So I feel we've been in this journey together, and I have been doing some cartography. And what I would like to do now is try and take you to the map that I have drawn, and to give you some hints into how to use it to be able to navigate this journey. And I know it's obviously my own interpretation, but I hope it would help you too in navigating this journey together. So we started. I'm going to kind of go through the different sessions and tell you how the full image evolved. This is from our first session, which somehow the way I saw it in my hands, because I see with my hands, was with the eco cycle, and that invitation to surrender it to this time. To these times, there was an important invitation, which is kind of now lost in the complexity of this drawing, but I think it's where it all started. That invitation, or that thing of stop trying to make sense, and that's extremely difficult for me, but that's, I think, what I needed to have that there, to be able to trust and continue and surrender. There was something important in that first session with Bob, who was our keynote speaker, a listener, and was the idea of crossroads. And when I was thinking about crossroads, I thought of the normal, standard crossroad, but I also thought of these hands, and the question of who am I with at the crossroads, and how the difference that it makes to travel this journey together, and be supportive of each other in this exploration. There were some elements that started to come out of what to salvage, which are drawn here in those blue bubbles, critical literacy, seeds to nurture collective hope. One that was actually added, not in the first session, but in the last one, with Melina, reminding us that life is not a problem, but a process. And from that initial image, I'm going to move now to our second session, with Vanessa as our keynote listener. And she took us through, together with Stefan and the music, the beautiful, moving music. And from these, my clarity was how grief was an internal experience, a personal internal experience, and how mourning was something we did together with others and created that intimacy, that connection. And from there, what we could put out in the form of lament and the power of voice. So there is these elements or these feelings or these experiences of grief that then got transformed into these threads, meeting stories again in a new way, recreate spaces to host grief, the voice breaks and the heart breaks. And some of these threads that were, started to be visible in this second session, some of them evolve, and we will see when we come there, some of them evolve from this second session into the larger image as we get to weaving. I'm going to get there in a second. This moved me a lot, that the poem that was shared at the end of that session, it really brought me to tears. I thought it was a super beautiful poem. If you don't remember it, I hope our hosting team can bring it back to our awareness. It was super beautiful. And as Rowan mentioned, there was that element of bewilderment present both in session 1 and 2 as we were walking this journey together. So from there, we moved to discerning, and I created discerning as a community garden. It was one of the stories that was present in the stories that were shared, and it was also my harvest from that community garden. First of discerning, we started. It was both ways, wasn't it? We started looking at the things within our ways of living that were never as good as we told ourselves they were, and those are represented up there. Some of those things: prejudice, hierarchy, boundaries, need to defend ourselves. Those things are there, and then there is the community garden. There is the community garden that got me to a word I hadn't come across before, the concept of community, and some of the harvest from that conversation, that collective exploration, belonging to nature, to community, curiosity, awe, intimacy, trust. And as you can see, from the harvest of that community garden of our discerning session, there's also some threads that weave up to our last session that I wanted to connect in this tapestry of stories. There's an interesting element that was mentioned in this session, and was some exploration about nature. which was kind of magical because it connected perfectly with the fourth session. And some people were talking about, well, how can we learn from nature? How does nature deal with boundaries and this whole idea of membranes and semi-permeable membranes, and how that kind of we connect with each other? What can nature teach us that could be useful in these times? And that obviously took us to our fourth session on weaving. And I think that is brought it back to the initial reflection on the ruins, with a concept that Melina brought, which was the colonized mind. And she was inviting us to reflect on the patterns of the colonized mind and that are taking our vitality away. And from there, what needs to die, and how do we nurture that vitality? And so that is what then gets given a more tangible shape, going up here in these threads, vitality, and some of those things that we wanted to use in our weaving. Music, singing, conversation, storytelling, dancing, creating, crafts, sharing, and also learning to be together around grief and mourning, and learning from there. And how that blue wave of blue, kind of a ripple from the eco cycle here, is community up there. There was a beautiful story that Marie-Alice shared about the stars, and how the stars had the secret laws of how we live together on this planet, but we had forgotten how to read those secret laws and to understand them. And from the weaving, because we're talking about different ways of different types of weaving, but from the weaving, there was a story about a bird, and it wasn't a hummingbird. This was me, because the bird that I felt coming into my visual story here was a hummingbird, and it was that for different reasons. One of the reasons is that during the COVID lockdown, my daughter rescued a hummingbird, and they're not easy animals to rescue. And she looked after it every 15 minutes. She was hunting bugs and flies and making delicious insect puree to feed the hummingbird, and she saved it. And I thought the hummingbird with its big heart was the right weaving, the right result of our weaving together here as a reminder, and that consciousness of interdependence. And there's many beautiful stories about hummingbirds. One of them is, which I also bring into my awareness very often, and it's a bit connected with this one, is that in times of ending, this is one like an indigenous origin story, that in times of ending, the sky fell on the planet, and humans were like crushed by the sky, and they couldn't see it. It was all dark, and the only one that had the courage to fly up and pull the sky up was the hummingbird. But because it's so small and it's big, it's so small, it started creating holes in the sky, and it created the stars. It made the stars. And that's how I would like to end, because when I was finishing this, I noticed as well and this was kind of a fractal understanding of my own drawing, I could see that there have been these little strange bubbles of things, and I could see that if I zoomed out of the whole drawing, the whole drawing was in itself one of these big bubbles, and I saw it as a fractal of this group of humans who are sharing this journey together. We are a fractal of many more conversations that are happening around the world and that are interconnected and interdependent, and that certainty brings hope and joy to my life, in the same way as knowing that a 8-year-old could save a hummingbird, tenderly looking after it, with that consciousness of interdependence, gives hope and joy to my heart.